And welcome to today's lesson on how to write an introduction. In the background here you can see a photograph of a beautiful flower taken from the National Geographic. It looks like it has some kind of a lighting effect on it, but in fact what you're seeing is a flower under UV light. What we would see would probably just be a plain yellow flower, but what birds and what bees can see is UV radiation as well as the visible light, which is what we can see. So what we're going to learn about today is, apart from how to write an introduction, we're going to learn a little bit about bees and how they see. And so we're learning about how to write an introduction by introducing the topic of bees. So let's start with opening a Word document. Our title at the top here is Can Bees See UV? Now this is not a research question, this is just a title. The research question will come later on. Okay, so we'll do that in another lesson. So the first paragraph generally introduces the topic. Then we have the main, which is the science, and then we have a summary at the end, which sets up what we're going to be doing in this experiment. In the first paragraph in the introduction, I tend to generally put the importance. Why do we need to know about bees and how they see? Why is this important for us? So let's have a little read. The production of food is hugely reliant on the work of bees. Bees and other pollinators transfer the pollen of plants, thereby allowing the plants to reproduce and produce food in the process. This process is vital in providing food for the world's growing population. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, close to 75% of the world's crops depend on pollinators. Bees and other pollinators are under threat from various factors and have seen large declines, with 40% of invertebrate pollinator species facing extinction. Maintaining and increasing yields in horticultural crops is important to health, nutrition, and food security worldwide. So we can see here bees, understanding how bees see color is important for this reason, for food security, which is pretty important. So now the second paragraph focuses more on the science and what our question is. So in this paragraph we will have how do bees see color, why are plants have different colors flower. So the visible light spectrum is the part of the electromagnetic spectrum that the human eye can see. Some animals don't see as much as humans, for example dogs, and others can see more. Birds and bees, for example, can see both UV radiation and visible light, and snakes can see infrared. Color is one of the main ways in which plants attract pollinators, as well as scent and nectar. So, for example, bee-visited flowers tend to be blue or violet, and bird-pollinated flowers are often red. In addition to those, some flowers have been found to reflect or absorb UV radiation, which acts as indicators for nectar. So you can enhance this by putting in a photograph or some other image, perhaps a graph or a diagram. But what you need to remember is if you put in something, an image, you need to add a caption. So in order to add a caption, we right-click on the image, we go to Insert Caption, and then we can type in what this is. We want it as a figure, we want it below, and we can, yeah, that's fine. Okay, we click OK. So underneath there, figure 1, human vision, reflected UV, simulated bee vision from left to right. That's me. You can fix that there. So any other figures that you add in, you add captions to, it will automatically update the numbering system, which is quite handy. So if you change it, it automatically changes everything. Now, this final paragraph is kind of summarizing what we're going to do in this experiment. It's not a detailed method. It's just a brief outline. So in this experiment, the UV visibility of the common dandelion will be altered by painting the flower petals with chemical sunscreen, which works by absorbing UV radiation. The visitation rates of the painted dandelions will then be compared with those of flowers that have been left unpainted. By understanding how bees are attracted to flowers, we can design methods of improving pollination of crop species and therefore food production. So you can see it's not a detailed method, it's just a brief overview of what we're doing in this experiment. You'll also notice that I've given the science name in brackets, or the Latin name for the dandelion. Now you have to do this at some point in your introduction. Throughout the rest of the experiment, I can just talk about a dandelion. I don't need to use this. But here and in your research question, you always need to include the scientific name. Okay, And that's it for how to write an introduction.